Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and we're back for another video discussing Naughty Dog / Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet. It's been over 2 months, guys, since my last video discussing this game, and we recently had a video about a month ago where I talked about Naughty Dog's bleak future, how things have just looked continually more and more disappointing as more and more time has passed. But as I hinted in that video in my last one, we are approaching September, which I feel is a very important time. Yes, I am well aware that PlayStation since then, my last Intergalactic video, has burned their reputation to the ground in terms of some of the decisions they've made, most in particular the disc decision, which I and many others want Intergalactic to be physical, and if it does end up dropping next year, which again is not guaranteed at this point, but all signs have pointed to it, we will get a disc version of it, which will be amazing, and it will be the last Naughty Dog game we potentially will be getting a disc of, which stinks because considering I wanted part 3, I've got a whole little collection here of steelbooks that will basically be done. Well, you can get a steelbook, but there'll just be a freaking code in the box, which is the dumbest thing I think ever. Well, we've gotten some more information potentially on when we could be seeing this game, and it could be very soon. Let's talk about everything you need to know in this video. Make sure you drop a like and subscribe for more content covering Naughty Dog / Intergalactic. We go for 1,000 likes on this video. I greatly would appreciate it. Make sure to join the 30% PR subscriber, hit the subscribe button, notification bell, have it set to all, and join over the 103,000 people that all notifications turned on by hitting the all notification bell. And make sure to follow my social media down below. Stay connected with us. Let's get straight into it. This generation for Naughty Dog has been a failure. I don't think anybody can debate that. I don't think there's any argument to that. It has been a failure. No new games in 6 years, a remake, a remaster, PC ports, just overall very disappointing. And this game, Intergalactic Prophet, since its first trailer, has literally been said from the get-go, it's going to be a PS5 game. Well, guess what? The PS6 is likely coming out next year. So think about that. It's going to be on PS6 regardless. They'll probably do like what they did with Part 2, for example. They'll have a PS6 enhanced version, and then they'll probably do a remaster of Intergalactic, because that's what Naughty Dog does. And we knew last year that Naughty Dog was working on a gameplay demo that they wanted to show Sony for Intergalactic, and they had to basically bring crunch back, which just was never a good sign in my opinion, and that just tells you that Naughty Dog was a little behind schedule with everything. And now you're thinking, okay, it's August 8th of 2026 right now, and this circles back to the state of play that was a couple months ago. Most people thought Intergalactic was going to show up. Turned out that wasn't the case. We got God of War, a lot of stuff on Wolverine, and a couple other games. No, with God of War, it was revealed, it was given 20 minutes of gameplay footage and shown a whole lot more than we had ever seen of Intergalactic. Intergalactic only got a 4-minute reveal trailer, and since then, that has been the only piece of actual content. I mean, there's been interviews, there's been little hints and stuff, but let's be honest, Naughty Dog hasn't done diddly squat in terms of promotion of this game since then. And Santa Monica is just here. Here's our new God of War game. Here's a bunch of gameplay. And then a month later, oh, here's the release date. And it's coming out on February 16th. Wolverine's coming out next month. So those two titles have gotten the gameplay. They've gotten the showcase. They've gotten all that stuff. Wolverine had its own dedicated state of play. Pretty much the last one, it had a big portion. God of War had 20 minutes. So think about that. Your biggest state of play and in your former Crown Jewel studio does not show up. Every year since 2019, PlayStation has had a state of play in September. You would think that this upcoming state of play, you've done everything you need to do with Wolverine. It's going to be out by then. You've done everything you do with God of War Alpha. You showed 20 minutes of it. You got a release date now. You'll probably have a more dedicated state of play maybe towards this release, maybe next year in January or February. Phantom Blade Zero is getting a new trailer in a couple days, so it's not going to get its own dedicated state of play, which was a long rumor. So if you think about PlayStation's future lineup, there is just Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet, Until Dawn 2, and Fair Games, which is a PS5 and PC exclusive live service title. So you would think in their next major state of play, Intergalactic has to be there. If you're trying to hype up the future of the PlayStation and all this digital future stuff, you would have to show it because it's going to be the biggest game that PlayStation releases next year, in my opinion. Unless there's some other unannounced game or the God of War game ends up being a complete hit, it's going to be one of your biggest, if not your biggest title. And it's for Naughty Dog's first PS5 game that is a new title. If it ends up releasing before the PS6 comes out, there should be no question marks. If Naughty Dog is serious about getting this game out next year, it needs to show up. There is no excuse for it not to be there next month at the State of Play. Now, according to insider Nash Weddle, the next State of Play is rumored to be coming the first week of September, in particular, September 3rd. Intergalactic is going to be at either the next State of Play or at the Game Awards. And if it is not, my dog's cooked if it ain't going to show up by the end of this year. Intergalactic Heretic Prophet is targeting a 2027 release, says reliable leaker. So, Nate the Hate has claimed that Intergalactic Heretic Prophet is targeting a 2027 release, although keep in mind, nothing official has been announced yet from Naughty Dog. While Tipster didn't go into further details about its planned release window, it does align with previous speculation about when we'll see Intergalactic, because back in 2025, last year, it was stated by Bloomberg's Jason Schreier that Intergalactic is not coming out in 2026. As we all do know now, by now that is true. Coming in response to speculation from Colin Moriarty that the game could be out by the end of the year. Multiple credible insiders continue to support and hammer down this 2027, 2027, 2027. Now, something that recently also just came out is Intergalactic Prophet might be Naughty Dog's most expensive title with a budget of $600 million. Intergalactic Heretic Prophet, the new IP from the Last of Us developers Naughty Dog, is easily one of the most anticipated games of the coming years. The studio has built a reputation as one of the best in the business when it comes to direction and emotionally driven storytelling, so it's no surprise a lot of gamers expect Intergalactic Heretic Prophet to be a significant leap forward across the board. And judging by the project's early budget numbers, it generally looks like the most ambitious thing Naughty Dog has ever made, which would be supported by a lot of comments Neil Druckmann has made that it's the most expansive, most ambitious, deepest gameplay in our history, etc. Amid ongoing uncertainty around the release date and the lack of official updates that come with it, well-known insider and gaming interview Kiwi Talks claimed that the game is unlikely to be postponed to 2028. In fact, he hinted a release could come as soon as next year. According to the interviewer, the budget for Naughty Dog's new IP has already hit $600 million, and another delay would likely hurt the game's potential profits. For context, Last of Us Part 2, the studio's most recent release in 2020, had a budget of $220 million. And his quote was, "I think it's highly unlikely that Intergalactic gets delayed from 2027 to 2028 because that will start pushing the budget into the $600 million range, which makes it extremely hard for the game to be profitable. When you weigh up the operational cost of Naughty Dog per employee, it's ridiculously expensive. Base salary, employee benefits, commercial lease, IT support, software licenses, water, power, etc. Multiply that by the core team of 250 devs over 6 years, and then include outsourcing and marketing, you're looking at $400 to $500 million, which is freaking insane. The realities of game development in the US for AAA now." And again, Kiwi had also shared that Intergalactic Heretic Prophet is targeting a 2027 release. So another insider that is continuing to hammer down this 2027, 2027, 2027. One thing in particular with the trailer that was shown is that Jordan types in the numbers 7202, which again, backwards is 2027. A lot of people thought that is definitely kind of a connecting thing to 2027 for it. Again, last month we had this article that they think that development of Intergalactic Heretic Prophet is almost done, judging by job openings. So last month, there were 5 QA openings, and I'll show you guys the job listings here shortly, but these are all filled. These are done. And again, so the studio is looking for employees with knowledge of French, Portuguese, German, Italian, and Korean. Typically, the stage of localization testing begins closer to the end of core development when the content is almost ready, and it's necessary to check the quality of translation, voice acting, and the game's correct functioning in different languages. And again, I've talked about localization QA jobs for a while now. They've been doing this for months, meaning they are getting closer and closer, which would make sense, especially if this game is coming out next year. As you can see on their current job openings, they have animation openings, art openings, communication openings, design openings, a lot of design openings, some IT jobs, production, and programming. We can assume maybe a couple of these are for Intergalactic, and again, none of these really hint at anything. But again, we also have to remember they're working on Uncharted, potentially a new Uncharted, and Part 3, The Last of Us Part 3. And again, Dell, who used to work on Intergalactic, I know him from Twitter, a good pal of mine, he stated to people asking, why no Naughty Dog trailer? Because every time a AAA game studio has to move resources over to making a trailer, it causes the game to lose about 4 months of actual dedicated development iteration time. Look, do you want a new game or not? Basically saying, if they were to release a trailer some months ago, they take about 4 months of development time away, meaning the game gets maybe pushed back a bit more, or it's a little later on. Then he added to this by saying, the closer to a game being complete that you make the trailer, the less resources you need to make the trailer. Much simpler if the game is already finished. It's basically like making a hotel building and someone asks to see a finished room halfway through construction. So he's basically claiming they're going to do it about as close to release as possible so they don't have to push back anymore. And again, the current director of dynamics and props for Naughty Dog liked a reply to this guy basically saying, I hope Naughty Dog releases Intergalactic on 27 for disc. Please, for the love of gaming, Naughty Dog. He liked it. Not sure if it was a mistake or if he meant to do that, but again, Just something of note. And then Dell talked with Sacred Symbols recently, where he talked a little about his work on Intergalactic. He worked as a character artist during pre-production phase of the game in 2023, 2024, but he said that within the studio, they are very critical of themselves and always push each other to make their work better, which is why their games are so good. Said that when Neil Druckmann writes his stories, he isn't trying to do something formulaic, but push the boundaries of storytelling and subvert people's expectations. He spoke about how this game is different for Naughty Dog due to the fact that games like Uncharted and The Last of Us were used based on real locations. Seattle for Last of Us, Madagascar for Uncharted. Every location in Intergalactic has to be created from scratch because it's a fictional world. The world building is larger, again, which has been supported by interviews and previous thoughts we have heard. So people are going to say, well, Dom, when do you think we're going to hear more? It has to be September. There's no think, there's no hypothetical. It has to be September. State of play, that's the time to do it. It's not going to be at Gamescom. PlayStation never shows up with that. And if it ain't in September, it's going to be at the Game Awards. And again, I wouldn't even guarantee that at this point. September is Judgment Day, because we look back and we said about May. But listen, there was a world where I thought, okay, it maybe could not be there. Yeah, I definitely thought there was a chance. But now that God of War, Wolverine, all these other games have gotten their promotion, they've got a bunch of stuff. I think it's time for Naughty Dog to, if you really want people to get excited, if you really want to get all this ball-headed, woke, all this other crap out of the way, it's time to show your hand, show your deck, let us see what you're actually doing, get people excited about this game, and stop living on the world of hypotheticals, because the communication has been piss poor since 2024. Not even asking for a release date. I'm just asking for some acknowledgement that this game is coming and it is going to be releasing soon. So guys, when do you think we're going to be hearing about this game next? When do you think it's going to release? In a perfect world, we'll be seeing it next month, and I'll have a lot to discuss, especially with Last of Us Day. I've got a lot of stuff returning with Naughty Dog in regards with that as well. So stay tuned for that. Next month is going to be pretty fun, especially if we do get some Intergalactic stuff. Endure and survive, stay patient, and I hope we will hear more soon. I want to thank y'all so much for watching. Let's go for 1,000 likes on this video again. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe for more content covering this game. Peace and love, and have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.